Hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. My name is Brandon Boyd, and today we'll be looking at Toys R Us's Chapter 11 Bankruptcy, or as I have titled the presentation, How Toys R Us Went Under Because It Didn't Grow Up. Before we get to the end, we must start at the beginning. After returning home in 1948 from serving in the U.S. Army in World War II, Charles Lazarus had an idea. Those he talked to while in the military all said the same thing. They were going to go home, get married, have children, and live the American dream. Lazarus saw a business opportunity, and Children's Bargain Town was born in Washington, D.C. To make a long story short, it eventually became Toys R Us. Toys R Us grew rapidly, and it was launched as a public offering in 1978, where it began trading on the New York Stock Exchange. Its success continued, and Toys R Us helped the toy industry bloom from $500 million in 1950 to a $12 billion industry by 1990. Toys R Us flexed its muscle at the top of the toy industry chain by emerging as a category killer. This meant it pushed out other retailers by selling products in one category in hopes to build so much volume that general merchandise chains could not match them in inventory or price. However, by 2017, Toys R Us declared bankruptcy and began to liquidate its assets. By 2018, Toys R Us announced plans to close all U.S. stores. What happened? Did the store with the jingle that declared, "I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid," see those same kids grow up and abandon Toys R Us? The answer is complicated and has its roots in the financial choices of the company, especially from 2005 and beyond. The end begins in the year 2000, though no one knows it at the time. In 2000, Toys R Us is performing very well and gets on board with upstart Amazon as the exclusive toy seller on its website. The pairing eventually went south, but it was financially successful. So, what was the problem? The answer is that Toys R Us did not establish its own e-commerce foundation. Instead, customers who went to ToysRUs.com instead were sent to Amazon.com. The pairing gave Amazon a look into how well the toy industry was performing, allowed it to learn how Toys R Us did business, and then it was able to apply it to its own website. Being behind on e-commerce would prove to be a later theme for Toys R Us, and it all started here in 2000. The mid-2000s were an especially strong time for what are known as leverage buyouts, which is the acquisition of another company using a significant amount of borrowed money to meet the cost of acquisition. The leverage buyout process began in 2005 for Toys R Us, and it was taken private after the buyout. Here we have a look at some specific numbers from the buyout. The final buyout price was $6.6 billion, which included $5.3 billion secured mostly by Toys R Us assets. At the time of the buyout, Toys R Us did have relatively good financial standing. Its debt to EBITDA ratio was under 3, and its interest coverage ratios were over 6. The first number there is better when it's low, and the second number is better when it's high, and we'll see later how high and low those numbers get. There were some concerns about the buyout, especially looking at it in hindsight. The private sponsors put in, quote, only, end quote, $1.3 billion of their own money, or less than 20% of the final buyout price. The total debt was 82.7% of total capital. At the time of the deal, debt interest rates were just over 7%, which meant Toys R Us would be paying over $400 million per year in outgoing cash flow in loan interest alone. The prevailing thought for the sponsors was that the marketplace would not change dramatically, so Toys R Us could lower operating costs, sell underutilized assets to raise cash, and then pay the interest in addition to paying off debts. However, they couldn't be more wrong. Toys R Us's road to demise was caused by 3 different mistakes. The first of these mistakes was that the products they offered did not properly adjust to the rise of technology. Technology-based toys were becoming favorites of a new generation of kids, and because Toys R Us was not a leader in technology toys, parents were going elsewhere for their needs. One example of this is seen in the rise of video games. Whereas a parent might, quote, need, end quote, Toys R Us for a more traditional toy, there were plenty of places for a parent to buy a video game. The second mistake Toys R Us made was not anticipating and adapting to an influx of competitors. We mentioned Amazon earlier and how it was able to learn from Toys R Us and become a competitor. Toys R Us also had to contend with Walmart and Target. All three companies had reduced prices on toys and flooded marketing channels with the aim of getting customers to buy lower-priced toys and then make up for decreased toy revenue through other purchases. Toys R Us did not have this luxury, as indicated by its name. It solely sold toys and could not compete in a race to the bottom because it would cut into revenue and cash flows without having additional revenue streams to pull from to make up for lost margins in toy sales. This all meant that the, quote, category killer, end quote, was now the one slowly being killed. The final mistake Toys R Us made was the one that started all the way back in 2000. Its e-commerce presence was greatly lacking compared to its competitors. This came to a head in the form of a retail apocalypse, a term used to describe the shift in consumer spending patterns and how they affect traditional brick-and-mortar retail stores' business models like the ones that Toys R Us succeeded with for so long. As shoppers increasingly went online, other companies followed suit and innovated, while Toys R Us did not do so in a timely manner. This retail apocalypse also meant that there was not a need for retail space like there once was, which decreased the value of Toys R Us's real estate and decreased the sale potential of that retail space, making it impossible for Toys R Us to sell those assets for a gain that would meet debt obligations. At this point in 2016 and 2017, the numbers for Toys R Us begin looking bad. From 2013 on, Toys R Us did not make a profit. Its debt had ballooned to $4.8 billion, and its debt to EBITDA ratio was now 7.6. Its interest coverage ratio dropped down to 1.4. From 2013 to 2017, Toys R Us net sales fell by over $2 billion, and in its final year, it posted a negative 29.6 profit margin and a negative 35.2% return on assets. It officially filed for bankruptcy in September of 2017. It was not in Toys R Us's plans to file for bankruptcy at this time. However, its hand was forced. Toys R Us did start searching for solutions to increase its liquidity in order to build seasonal inventory. This was reported by CNBC, and rumors about bankruptcy led its supply chain to pull back. Within just a few days of the report, nearly all of Toys R Us's vendors refused to ship inventory without cash on delivery. Once it filed for bankruptcy, Toys R Us had planned to use the filing to deal with its debt and pay suppliers for the upcoming holiday season. However, the supply chain interruption, coupled with consumer unsteadiness about the state of Toys R Us, scared off holiday shoppers, and its holiday sales were $250 million less than expected. In a typical year, about 40% of Toys R Us's total net sales were generated in the fourth quarter, so this was extremely damaging to the company and its financial state. It is also important to add that Toys R Us's debt interest from the leveraged buyout was eating up too much of any profit margin the company had. As a result of the bankruptcy filing and subsequent poor performance, Toys R Us closed 735 stores and liquidated over $2 billion worth of merchandise sold at a discount. It laid off 30,000 workers, and the creditors and vendors involved with Toys R Us lost millions of dollars. The termination of Toys R Us left the toy industry with an $11 billion hole, and even despite its decline, Toys R Us's power and mystique in the toy industry was missed when it left. Toy store known for its mascot, Jeffrey the Giraffe, and having Toys R Us kids, ultimately could not grow up besides those who bought so many toys there throughout the years. Its poor adaptation to technological toy trends, inability to compete with large competitors, and poor e-commerce presence led the company once known as a, quote, category killer, end quote, toward inexistence. Coupled with its 2005 leveraged buyout through private equity that put too much debt on its shoulders, Toys R Us took a relatively sharp path from booming business to bankruptcy. And here are my references. Thank you.